Gee, it sure is dark in here. There's gotta be a light around here somewhere. This ought to do it.
Wow. Where do you think you are? Disney World?
Yes, sir. I knew I was home when I got on the airport tram and was greeted by Buddy Dyer. And that tram was piloted by a chicken.
Alright, Pinhead, listen up. Your job is to pilot this craft through RetroMagic 2023 without overstressing it. This is a first-class event, Fuzzy. A lot of dedicated fans are in attendance tonight, and they have high expectations. So the pressure is on. Are you ready, Stucky?
Yes, sir.
You need to measure up to a whole archive of flickering old movies and treasure family memories that warm people's hearts.
Yes, sir.
People are going to compare you with the great Disney legend, Bob.
No, sir.
Smart boy. Nevertheless, instead of losing your head, what are you going to do?
Use my head, sir.
Well, look at you. You remembered. I'm proud of you, boy. Hey, remind me, how long have you been riding around inside the head of Scott Curtis?
Since 1989, sir.
I'm sure you got the hang of it. You're going to get Scott right up there on stage in a few minutes, aren't you, boy?
I'll do my best, sir.
As befits your role as a full-fledged member of the Cranium Command, carry on, Fuzzy. And remember, be calm, cool, collected, serene, balanced, centered, and relaxed, like me.
Will do, General. Guess I better get this show on the road. Okay, crew, report in. Todd McCartney, Jerry Rees, come in, please.
This is stage left reporting in her duty. Let's have a wonderful presentation, shall we?
R&D Imagineer and sometime voice actor here, Buzz. Free association and creativity makes fully charged. Let's do this, dude.
Very wonderful to see you again. Oh my goodness.
You truncated your script.
I know. I'm not an actor. You know, I asked you when we put this together, and once we get onto the screen here, I want to thank everybody who worked to put this together. I was talking to Jerry, and we had this idea, and Tammy Tucky helped us out. And before you know it, Jerry says, oh, I can write a script. He's definitely in Hollywood. I got a script with the font and emphasis, and I was like, this is impressive. So we do have a couple people. Let's see if we can just move over here. So, first of all, Corey Burton reprised his role as General Knowledge. Scott Curtis was here tonight, reprised his role as Buzzy. Tammy was able to do all the, Tammy Tucky did the audio editing. Bunny Wars on Twitter did all the artwork and written by Jerry Rees, and there's a typo that says written by.
Right.
So that's it.
And I'm Red Shoes honoring Butter.
There you go.
He was asked if he would measure up to Butter, he wasn't sure. And I said, that's a smart answer.
Exactly. So we have a lot to go through tonight. There's a lot of surprises in this. You and I have been working on this for, I want to say almost a year, I think, at some point. But, you know, there's some photos of you that kind of lead up to the story that we're about to tell.
Right.
And that's what tonight is. It's a story of Jerry's story, right? This is really his story of how he came in and gave us Cranium Command and what it was. So a lot of this, it's Jerry's telling here, but we've got a lot of different stuff that you provided to us that we're going to add in. So,
Right, and by the way, I found about 6 hours of behind the scenes footage of the making of the show just recently. And so I gave them to Todd, and Todd has put together some behind the scenes peeks that you'll get tonight.
But
No one has seen before, except us when we were making it.
Yep. So here you are with Goldie rolling around.
Yeah, well, you know, this is pertinent because just before Cranium Command, I had opened 4 shows at the park, at Disney MGM Studios. So I had started with Back to Neverland with Robin Williams and Walter Cronkite. And while I was working on that, they asked me to go rewrite and reshoot something with George Lucas, and I added Anthony Daniels into it. He flew in from London and I shot that and prepared that. It was the editing story for the same tour. We shot with Goldie Hawn and Rick Moranis, a Tourist from Hell, and Michael and Mickey with Michael Eisner and Mickey Mouse. And so I was opening all 4 of those on the opening day of the park, and I saw Eisner and Katzberg and George Lucas standing together, and George Lucas motioned me over, and so I went over to see what he had to say. And he said, well, you know, the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, I have not opened it to the public yet. I'm still not happy with the way it's playing, and so I'd like you to rework that. And I had just finished working with George up at the ranch, shooting the piece with him. So he was used to what I did. And so I said, well, I've never worked with live stunt people in a theater and big amphitheater setting with over 2,000 people. And he said, look, it needs storytelling and showmanship. You know how to do that, fix it. So I said, yes, sir. So I left thinking that that would be what I was going to be very busy with for a while. And then Peter Schneider caught me. Just a few minutes later, he said, okay, I know you feel like you have a full plate, right? But there's something else. There's a show that you haven't heard of yet. It's called Cranium Command. Actually, it's Cranium Command. And he said, we're unplugging it, and we fired everybody involved, and we're starting over, but we built a whole theater for it, right? And we have an opening day, but you came in and you rethought, I mean, Back to Neverland was me doing a different show than they had in mind. They asked me to go do the rescue with Lucas and with all the rest of them. So actually, Zemeckis was supposed to originally shoot Michael and Mickey, and got too busy for that. So I happily stepped in for him. So they were used to thinking me as kind of the buzzer beater guy. Right. So
and you flew down there, and we have this is true behind the scenes footage. Jerry, as you're going to see, the Grand Tour.
yes.
You took your camera in, and he's going to tell us a little bit about Indiana Jones. What's so spectacular about that? We're going to see, and also Cranium Command. So let's take a listen.
This time I'm here to work on 2 shows. The Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, which is 2,000 seat amphitheater and a lot of Indiana Jones stunts that are pretty spectacular. That's why they call it the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. Anyway, I went up and I talked to George Lucas day before yesterday, on Friday. And anyway, we sort of talked about an approach to it, and we're going to try to get this thing together and open. So he sent me down here to do this along with Bob Weiss and Katzenberg, and I want to try to deliver big because that's what they're hoping for. So anyway, give it a shot. And the other show it's at Epcot, and it's an 8-screen presentation that's in Health Pavilion. It's called Cranium Commando, and it's about how your mind works. So I don't know anything about that. Anyway.
One of the things I want to tell you about when we put this presentation together, you need to look through, because those that remember the attraction, you're going to see different things that Jerry did so early on that made its way into the attraction itself. So we have another video, also shot from the Grand Floridian, and this is the bedroom and the bathroom, right? Right. So let's just move on to this one. This kind of sets the stage, and I'm curious if how many of you kind of remember the scene in the attraction.
It's 2 of the screens are going to be point of view, so it's like you're seeing through somebody's eyes, and he goes through a lot of things during the day, and one of them is confronting some bullies who throw him in a trash can or a toilet.
Before you show in the original show, I would just say the first thing that Peter Schneider did when that night when he announced to me that they wanted me to go in do it was have me go look at the original show and tell them what I thought I would do differently. So I did do that on my own and came up with a plan for what I would do differently. And then I brought my team in to get a flavor of what we were replacing. So I think you're about to show some of what I shared with my team.
We have a couple photos first that have the video, so that maybe this is
But if
something.
you'd like me to get into what I chose to do.
Yeah.
or-
Well, maybe we should show them. So
Maybe
they can
show it,
see- yeah.
okay, maybe
Yeah.
after.
So these are some of the early renderings and maquettes that were made for Cranium Command. You can see here's a lot of the little sketch work. Fuzzy obviously didn't have the form that you know today.
Right.
And then there's a model of what the theater would look like. And this is very similar to what you walked into.
Yeah.
And so we'll let this run with people here because this is probably the first time they've ever seen some of the original show.
Yes, this was after I had already assessed it, given my plan of action to a conference call with Eisner and Katzenberg and Roy Disney and Marty Sklar and various other people on the line. And they had given me the go-ahead, and so I gathered my team in the theater to go, by the way, here's what we're replacing, now we have to come up with something better.
Here we go. So let's see some of the very original Cranium Command.
So we'll just let this play.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
just
a couple
of
of
Not only have we gone to a large, so there's some value to that. The other hand is fixed to the control, so and any bodybuilder, or just he's got some torso. Chosen student of the week.
Animatronic. It's so cool you be the student of the week. Oh, thanks. Mindy, would you like to walk me home after school? Sure. I thought you liked Jimmy. Jimmy? He's all right, but he's not as smart as you. And then...
Don't lose your head. Use your head.
Right here.
Don't get away that David. Did you do the right thing? Did you tell them?
Yeah. So I basically told them, I would rewrite it so it's not patronizing, because I felt like when I sat and watched the whole show, and I thought that I would feel embarrassed if I even brought a child to see it. So I said, okay, let's please hide the message in an engaging story and have characters you care about and not be patronizing. So that's number one. Number two is I would love to keep the eyes active, because I found that often in that version, the eyes would be turned off and then the body would talk with Buzzy and stuff, and then they would say, remember what happened yesterday? And then they would turn on the eyes and they would do a little thing, and then they would go off again. And I said, if this is supposed to be riding through somebody's day and feeling their stress, part of the stress is you can't just close your eyes and make it go away. It's happening. So I said, if you make it like a ride, so you feel like you're not sitting in the theater, you're going on a ride through this kid's day, and like wake up with them and go on the ride and keep those eyes open for most of the time, unless they get hit with an Eskimo pie, which does happen. Then that will feel much more like you're on a ride. And then the third thing was, I just thought, all the body parts were going to be animated, and I just thought it would be so fun to do sort of a Terry Gilliam thing and go crazy with nutsy sort of interior body sets and stuff like that. So instead of animating Charles Grodin, get him. And so Bill Matthews, who's a great costume designer that I worked with more than once, built all the crazy sets. So he would do things like the left brain, to be logical, had almost like he was inside of a black and white Rubik's Cube, where all the parts would move, and the creativity of the right brain and everything. So anyway, the brain trust that was on the phone call with me, when I laid out those three things, they said, great, go for it. So I was able to collect my team, but the trick was, now I had two mandates. One was absolutely in Florida. It's like George Lucas needed me to go to the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular and work on that with Glenn Randall, the amazing stunt coordinator. And
While you're talking about this, I'm going to put in the MJ footage here. So you can
okay.
Yeah, that's what because this is silent.
So I had to go live there, and so I took my story team with me to Florida and put them actually in the building where Back to Neverland played. So when you go see the film, and those are actual tourists. Those are tourists at the time, so they were actually watching us storyboard Cranium Command. So they watched us do it. So if anybody has photographs or videos, or film, I should say, from that time, probably not as many videos, and they dig out from that year. And this was August, June, July, June, must have been June, because Rebecca, who was one of the story artists there, who was my wife, I met her at Disney, had her first child during Cranium Command, and that was on July 27th, so this is before July 27th. It's very pregnant there. But anyway, they sat there in front of the public and did the storyboards for me. So I would run back and forth between that building and the stunt theater and work with Glenn Randall there and work with them there. And I remember one of the days they had cracked the hypothalamus character. It was like they couldn't figure out what to do with him. And Rebecca came up with that idea of him being very put upon. It's like, oh, nobody pays attention to me. And then Kirk Wise did a perfect voice for it. And I remember the joy of discovering that while we were in this crazy situation of all working in front of the public.
So there's some of the storyboard there.
That's right.
That was done.
Then I was going to say, then once we were done with that, we broke into two productions where Kirk and Gary did the pre-show, and I ran off to do the main show.
And we have a special message from someone for you, too.
Really?
It's for you.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so we're going to play this here.
Hello fans of Epcot and especially Cranium Command. My name is Pete Doctor. I work here at Pixar Animation Studios, but in a way, I started my career at Epcot because I was working at Disney Feature Animation over in Glendale at the time. They were in those warehouses next to WDI, and I
got to work on the Cranium Command pre-show, which was really fun. I don't know if you know this, it's actually the second version of the Cranium Command pre-show, because there was a whole different one that I think was animated by Colossal Pictures in San Francisco. And it was shown then to Jeffrey Katzenberg, whose reaction was, "Not funny, do it again." So he gave it initially to, let's see, Kirk Wise and Gary Trousdale ended up directing it. It was originally Rob Minkoff, but he left pretty quickly to do, I think, some Roger Rabbit stuff, short films. So anyway, Kirk Wise and Gary took over. It was their first directorial effort before they did Beauty and the Beast. I got to animate a couple scenes of Buzzy, a lot of background characters, and a lot of Xeroxing and cutting out of people's heads. Because all those heads that are in the background are actually pictures of people who worked on the project. So that was a lot of fun. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy the time that you're having together, and look back at some old cool stuff.
So yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, I remember that Pete worked with Kirk and Gary on the pre-show, and they got busy with that, and they were using Jared Rushton, who had done, I think, the original voice of Buzzy in the old show. I, in the meantime, cast Scott to do Buzzy and Bobby voice. But that way, using the previous voice, they could put it into production, get the pre-show underway, and yeah, Pete was one of our great animators.
So now we have characters, we have a storyboard, we're animating. We need to find some people.
Yes, casting was unusual with this. People had to work to a camera that was running around as a point of view of a person, talk directly to the lens. And then we had a special need of having the character whose head you're riding around in had to be portrayed somehow by hands and feet and reflections of a whole person occasionally that would come in. So I think you're going to see in my casting efforts that I put people through weird stuff with trying to time my camera movements to look in a mirror.
You put me through weird stuff. I had to sort through 45 minutes of this.
and then like going to a table where you're supposed to eat and they have to slip their hand in there and bring a fork up to the camera and all that stuff. And I knew that this shoot was going to be super challenging, and the last thing you need is a kid who can't hit their marks on a project that's really challenging. I mean, it's not easy. It's hard, and you find a kid who's comfortable with that and doesn't get nervous about holding up the whole crew today by hitting their marks properly. And I found.
Well, let's take a look at some of the casting for Cranium Command.
And step, pause, lean, back. And turn to your right. All right, we'll move up. Now lean over, up. And turn to your right and exit. And going forward, so just step, pause, and lean over. Okay, and move up. Okay, now we're moving fast this time. Okay, lean, notice, and turn, and action. And towards the camera, cool. Okay, looking out, and back, back, toss it down, and up. Yep. And hold it. And toss it down and up. Okay.
I hear you, stomach. Looks like we got breakfast dead ahead. Let's chow down. It's about time.
Hey, Smarty Pants, the bus is here.
I hear you, stomach. Looks like we got breakfast dead ahead. Let's chow down. It's about time.
Okay.
Hey, Smarty Pants, the bus is here.
Hey, stomach. Looks like we got breakfast dead ahead. Let's chow down. It's about time.
Hey, Smarty Pants, the bus is here.
So I found the appropriate people who were willing to put up with the crazy format that we were shooting. And Scott, as you could see, he was the last kid that was in your edit of the movie there. And it was his hands that properly did the eating of the food and stuff. So that was a key reason that we could stay on target with our schedule and budget because he hit his marks every day.
Well, we found our Buzzy, so please welcome to the stage, Scott Curtis. You guys haven't seen each other since?
Yeah, just a few minutes ago outside.
He's grown up a little bit.
Yeah, and he still hits his work. That's right.
You did a great job. I mean, we sent that cut over to you for the opening, and he came back and was like, oh, this is so cool. This is so cool.
Yeah, the voice changed a little bit. So it's much fun.
Sure is dark in here. It just hits the same way. Before we get into some of the filming and things, we do have some footage. Scott, we call this your sizzle reel because you did some other work. And I don't know if anybody recognizes some of the stuff that Scott did, but we're going to show two of his. Well, you told us an interesting story about the commercial too, which was great. That we're going to show. But he played Elliot in an ET commercial for Pepsi. And we have that tonight we're going to show you. And he was also on a very special episode of Full House. We're going to show you. Very special. So let's show Scott's sizzle reel here. And let's take a look at this. And that was a common promotion that they did. Turn in barcodes and things like that.
Right. Yeah. The first one was that they did was for Top Gun, and they recreated the actual movie and they put it on the beginning of every VHS copy. They came to my mom and I and said that they were thinking about doing that as well. And my mom just shot through the roof. She's like, "Oh, how cool!" And my agent called us and said, "I think you guys did a deal behind my back here." And so they canned it, which is a real shame. That would have been awesome to be on every single copy of VHS.
Yeah, it was out there. So,
yeah.
And then obviously Full House, one of the really neat episode there. Obviously, this was just a small portion. You played Spin the Bottle, and all sorts of things.
Yeah, they were looking for that ketchup bottle the whole time. Yeah, that was an awesome experience. Candace Cameron Bure said that was her first kiss ever, and so I think maybe I had one kiss or something. But the Jeff Franklin, who was the producer and the creator, he kept having us smooch probably 30 times because they were just getting a kick out of how embarrassed she was getting. And there's also I don't know if anybody remembers Banaka spray, breath spray. So that became kind of a funny thing between Candace and I, as we would spray each other, and
I couldn't find any, but I did bring Mentos, the fresh maker.
Is this one a surprise?
No, that's a surprise, but yeah.
Cheers.
So, well, you got your Buzzy, you got your cast, what do we do next?
Well, we gotta dress them up, I
Dress
think,
them up.
appropriately for this story.
Yeah. So I think we have here the next card. Yeah.
And it was so interesting, when we opened, there was a live radio broadcast our opening day, and we started to hear sort of a buzz about the show, and we were so glad that they described it as MTV's Wonder Years, as sort of what they thought the Cranium Command vibe was. And I think MTV referred to getting near the threshold of overload with all the screens and all the effects that would go on, and then Wonder Years for the heart thing. So having people like Scott participating in making it believable as we took the adventure was key. But yes, I think you have some things of us dressing them up.
We did. We figured out the wardrobe. So.
Far up.
Is that it? No, you're gonna have to stay dressed.
Yeah. Shut up, I didn't see you. Oh, no. Thank you. Remember this guy?
Yeah, things differently.
Yeah, Jerry's shooting right now. Yeah. Wait, you want to? Yeah, go ahead. Wait, are you shooting me through that mirror? Yeah, I'm shooting every. Yo, word! All right.
I'd recognize her
This is very fascinating what they're doing here.
Yeah, in the mirror. Okay.
All right, I'll check the test tomorrow. Okay, and I'm waiting to hear, I mean, okay, let's try it on this side. So now we turn, do it tomorrow, would be great. We can give it.
Yes.
For those of you familiar with the show, you can see with Jerry was even in wardrobe, he's moving the camera to how he is going to film it, to make sure that everything worked.
Yes, we had to get ready constantly, and it's funny, some of the footage that I think you're going to show shows a little moment of rehearsal between the camera operator and you. And it's in the bedroom when he's waking up, and he's looking in the mirror, and then he has to go quickly to put something on. It's like, so he goes to the closet, and his hand reaches up to get the shirt, and then go for the pants and the shoes and stuff. Well, they try that moment, and it's funny, I listened closely today at the hotel when I was looking back at that, and you hear the camera operator, he challenges you, he's like, okay, go. And he turns away and goes up to the closet, and the hand reaches up, perfect time, and he goes, perfect, you rascal. And he was just delighted that you could hit everyone, and he'd move swiftly, and you'd be right there to tuck in, but not getting in the way in between. It was amazing, and to think there were sometimes multiple things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things you had to hit in one shot. I think about the end of the show, we'll eventually get to that shot. But if you think about that, when he's tapped on the shoulder and turns around, there's one long shot to end the whole movie, and I depended on him hitting marks multiple times, including the very last moment where he, in the reflection, in the trophy case, he raises his hand. But along the way, he was looking at her, you look at the locker room, at the locker, he's reaching into the locker, he closes it just in time for the camera to whip around, and all those things. And at the very end, after that long thing, you missed your mark in the reflection, I had to shoot again. And he kept hitting your marks. Thank you.
The camera guy and I became a team for sure.
Yeah.
What I remember, and again, I was 12 years old, so the memory is, what I can remember, but it's not perfect. But I remember him being very tall.
Yes.
Or at least a very, very stout
You'll see
individual.
it.
Okay, cool. And so if you guys could imagine, me having to walk mere inches in front of him while a Panavision camera, which I don't know if you know what the size of, like a video camera or a cell phone like we have now, You know, he had a Steadicam rig, and we really had to work together to make sure, because if I bumped the camera,
Well, there were things like in the principal's office, there's a long scene there, and you have to lean over you because he's looking at your knees and your hands and everything. So yeah, it was the big, huge guy leaning over you, and that camera was making him sweat, because that was like 30 or 40 pounds with the camera with a full magazine load. So yeah, it was tough, and I'm glad you stayed nimble and that he didn't step on you.
Jerry, do you want to strap a GoPro to his head? A lot easier now, right?
But yeah, you'll see during some of the rehearsal footage, us running around and trying things,
Yeah.
and I would do that typically with my home video camera, and then hand it to Davey Walsh, our DP, and Robert, his camera operator. And so I would often try things and then hand the camera for them to try things, and you'll see a flavor of that here.
Yeah, let's take a look at the rehearsal footage.
Excuse me. Looks like we're gonna be lab partners. Excuse me. Looks like we're gonna be lab partners.
Yeah, we get the angels singing opera clothing, Captain. We have just skipped the beat. What's going on up there?
I'm new here. My name's Annie.
Look at me. Oh,
I
say
keep on going.
You're right, all right.
I'm new here. My name's Annie.
Say something. Beautiful. I mean, Bobby. Yes, you're pouring. And you notice the smoke starting to come through?
Bobby, watch out!
Okay.
Hey, Bobby. Look, I just wanted to thank you for helping me out with those guys who were hassling me.
No, okay, go ahead and stay. We'll close through the lockers.
Oh. What's this one?
This is the
They
water.
were like pretty neat. I want to look at you.
No sweat.
No sweat. They're like pretty neat.
No sweat.
No sweat. You were like pretty neat.
God, she likes us.
Pretty neat.
God, she likes us. Captain, yeah, everything's good. But that didn't got any. Yeah, she's really cute. The way your eyes just listening in the overhead lighting. Oh, that's just not guys. Yeah, she's really cute. Look at the way your eyes just listening before. Isn't too lighting. Oh, let's not start daydreaming. Let's do something concrete. Yeah.
We could go out after school. You know, go to the mall or something. Okay. That'd be great. Thanks again, Mommy.
Yeah. Ooh. Hooray! Hooray! There she is.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, you go for it. Try just lifting it up and shaking it towards you. It's like you're throttling.
Let me do it. Okay, so you didn't want to shake like a... Alright, full 360 or?
Yeah.
Because I was hoping it to be choreographed like a ballet.
And tactics.
Pause and charge. Okay, BJ, you see us coming? Okay, action, grab it, look it up. They're good. Okay, action.
Here. All right, 6 weeks. All right, 6 weeks detention. Out. Don't for sure. Don't feel so good. Okay, Mom. Hello. Alright, look, guys. Let's move up. Legs. Look up for 45 degrees and extend heads. Head for the door. Watch factor 10. Go into school stock naked all the way in. Whoa! Quick, let's not so close. There's gotta be something in here. Boy, how to dream.
No, let's
There we go.
let's just watch it. It does it.
It was nice because you could just deliver the body lines right there to Natalie, who did an amazing job playing Annie. So yeah, whenever there was a body line, he could just, from wherever he was tucked away, feed that line.
Yeah, I think I was in front of the camera basically the whole time.
Yeah.
I think the only time I really wasn't involved was when the camera swung to go to the side of the house, and then I wasn't there for that, but that was really, I mean,
You were there a lot.
And I saw you today, Annie came to the
Yeah.
screen, you patted her.
yeah, she had just done Alice in Wonderland on Channel 7, or Channel 7 for me, on ABC, and it was a really big deal, and so meeting her right after that was, meeting a celebrity.
And I wrote a letter to her, hoping that I could find where she was and bring her here today to be on the stage with us, but I couldn't ultimately find out where she was, but somebody, Natalie, received a nice letter.
With this Jerry Rees, right? He's a talker.
But, and also it'd just be interesting to know that you saw a guy that was rehearsing in the role of where the teacher normally led you to the principal's office. Well, there was a guy standing, and that was Michael Haney, who was my first AD. And his next gig as first AD was for James Cameron on Terminator 2. And he said that Cranium Command was the perfect training ground for the complexity of that film. He called me later and he said, I'm on T2 with James, and I'm glad I did Cranium to prep. In fact, he had come to me the day before we started principal photography, and he closed the door and he goes, Jerry, I finally figured out how it works. And I said, what? He said, well, all the different parts are so crazy the way they work, but I know you're shooting the point of view first, then we're going to shoot the other things and have them respond. He went through this whole thing. And I said, well, I'm glad you figured it out, because we're starting to shoot tomorrow. But, it was so cool that was his next gig, and that he bothered to call back and say, our time in the trenches prepped me for this. That's awesome. And you were in the middle of it.
So with this, Jerry, you had to do a lot of set building, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But before that, some of the footage you had was scale modeling you did, which I think is just amazing, because you tested principles of how the stomach worked with the water coming up and down. So we're going to take a look at that.
I should mention it just before you roll that. There were things like, it was one thing to do a storyboard where appetite in the stomach is, wanting the food, and in the food fight, it comes rushing in, and the level rises of the stomach acid. And so now we're going to shoot that. Instead of animating it, we're going to shoot it on the set with real water rising. And of course, my DP and my whole team got together and they said, you can't do that. You can't move thousands of gallons of water in a few seconds. That just doesn't happen. So I huddled with Bill Matthews, my production designer, and I said, well, what if we do something like lower the whole set into a tank of water and raise it, and you affix the camera to that so that when it goes down, the camera goes down. And so as far as the camera is concerned, it's a locked off shot, but water's moving everywhere. So the DP goes, prove it. So we huddled. The thing you're gonna see here with a clay model, it was in a bucket, and we were on the corner of the set while we were building other things, and I, with my video camera, lowered it, and we lowered the bucket, the character into the bucket, and then I raised it at the same time. I took it back to Davey and showed it to him, and I said, what do you see? He said, I see water rising and lowering. And I said, aha, suspended set, fooled you, and we built it. So,
if you didn't believe me that Jerry shot video ever,
here it is.
We're gonna get great reflections on him, I know that.
This was when Red was getting dizzy.
Okay, go ahead.
No, stand back.
Mm-hmm.
Intense concentrate. This could be very
Oh, and they just did this at home.
Just imagine.
Where after I got everything cut together, I took the model fuzzy and moved it back and forth in relation to the footage. So it would look either like he was moving with centrifugal force as the point of view moved around, or that he was moving to look at appropriate character to speak to. But that was all just done with my own video camera at home, showing it on my TV and planning with the little models.
And here you are recently with the model.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and then the next shot, his head came out. All right, so up next, you had to turn these scale models, just like we're going to learn tomorrow about horizons and spaceship Earth, and modeling out attractions is a really important step. So how do you take those models and turn it into sets? Now, in the case of Horizons or any attraction at Epcot, they were full sets that you always saw. Jerry's doing the same thing, but turning these into props and sets for the filming, rather than a ride. But the concept is the same. We made the model.
Right.
Now we're going to build the full sets.
And remember what a shock to the system this was to the studio, because this was all going to be animated. And so instead, we're building everything.
Right. So we have some video here to show the prop.
Pretty big warehouse too. Yes. We were building a lot of things that did all at the same time. That's the carousel. We actually had, those are parts of the retinal ventricles of the heart that we're going to be feeding in heart color later on. And the Rubik's Cube, and those are all moved by hand. Those are all people behind pushing them by hand, by the way. There you are, riding in the clouds. And there's Bill Matthews, the designer, riding and actually getting very dizzy. And the character's supposed to be getting dizzy. You get dizzy. And I was trying out the carousel. We actually did 2 discs on the bottom moving separate directions. So when you step forward, you'd be whisked off in another direction. And then a top carousel that could carry things any direction we wanted. There we were trying out the full size of what we did with the bucket and the clay guy. As you can see, it lowered right in. And that's the set hanging above the tank. We could lower it pretty far down into that tank. There's the water there. Yeah, so we had a lot of depth. So we could take him up to his chest if we wanted to. The adrenal glands were about that both way coming up. That was the set, and we did that so we could wiggle it around when things were getting tough. And I think we're about to get the wiring. Yes, there's the lighting. And trying out the right and left ventricles of the heart. When it was in the early stages, some of the workers wondering, what the heck are we building? It's a new gym concept. Just go into the body and work out the body. And I worked out in that gym, and it worked. I actually kept that muscle suit. Dana already let me keep that, so I actually wore that, I think, almost every Halloween since.
Yeah, and that too.
Looked pretty hot.
Jerry invited me down to the set to, because he knew, Hans and Franz from Saturday Night Live at that point in time, they were the coolest of cool. And so Jerry invited me down and I got to meet them, which was incredible. And Bobcat was also there and he shot later on that day. And so if you see the kid that's next to me up there, that's Jason Marsden. We were really good friends. So you may know him as the voice of Max in a Goofy movie. He was also the voice of Disney. Hey, you're watching Disney Channel. So that's what he did. He was also on Full House. He became Candace's boyfriend after the original. So that's who's in that picture. Remember when we went to meet Bobcat, we walked in there and Bobcat was sitting on a couch and he just went, "Oh, hey guys, how you doing?" And we looked at each other like, no, do the other thing. Do the screaming and the freaking out. So
even in the photo shoot footage, he's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And the cameras are going, he's just frozen.
I know people were so used to that hyper thing, which was perfect for his role.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, he would definitely come down off that high.
And here's some pictures that, is he, yeah, he's in there, yeah, so there he is up in there, we have some behind the scenes footage of that photo shoot. You've got John Lovitz there as the Red Brain.
Red Brain, he's
Yeah.
ready to go rescue the
Forget the.
Charles Grodin.
Charles Grodin, thank you. That's, I'm
He
supposed
was
to be
so,
love right today.
Charles Grodin, he was so bright. He wore the, the perfect square shoulders and everything. And he really got into the character. There was some footage, I wound up shooting much more than I used, but he would make the greatest choices. There was something where, when the kiss happened, I filmed what was going on in the left brain chamber. And, I had explosions going off and, sparks and vapor billowing and everything. And his reaction was to lift one eyebrow. Just went. and it was perfect. It was just exactly what he would do. So I love working with him.
And we've got some other photos here from production as well.
And John Lovitz, this was my second round with him. He was radio in the Brave Little Toaster.
Oh, that's right, yeah. There we go. It's a great little. So we're gonna go again. We've got Hans and Franz up there in the heart. This was your promotional photo shoot photos, I believe.
I think somebody did come around and we were working, but they had a EPK kit group there. I think that was taking pictures. Yeah. And yeah, I was so glad that George Witt came down and we built those giant props for him. That was another fun thing in the final coordination between the shoot. We were doing the food fight, and I would have him do, the stomach is asking for, sit down one of those burgers, and then he would stuff it for the mouth, and M&Ms and different things like that, and we had to build all the big props to go splashing in the stomach. And my kids played with some of those giant M&Ms for quite a few years.
So I have another video here. Yes, this is your
That's data cam operator. She was legendary for having the best endurance, and they told me going up and down the stairs in that is just going to kill your steady camera person, and everyone knew her name. It's like, get her.
Scott, I think we have.
And she was amazing. Now you're going to see the scene with Scott and the camera operator coming up right about now, and watch him dart. Perfect, you rascal. So you can see how big he is. That was fun staging the food fight in the school.
Your volunteers are out.
And mashed potatoes. Yeah, this was our food line.
Did you get fun story? Oh yes, that's right. We need to know that.
So again, all of this stuff was, they thought that the animators working at desks, and instead there's all these trucks.
Preparing food.
Crew and everything. Well, and preparing food to be thrown, yes. Take 5.
Was this your
So we were, and this was at the John Muir High School.
You had one day or 2 days? It was over a weekend, right?
I'm not sure how long we had to shoot there. It was all very quick. I remember Sandy Ravens, who was an executive at Disney, calling me into her office with someone else there. And they had seen that I was going to do a food fight at the school, and they just said, it's too ambitious. What you're doing is too ambitious. And I said, well, are you going to give me more resources and time? No. And they said, are you guys okay with me giving you half a show? No. So I said, I'm just going to have to get it done. Yeah. So back we did it. On to Franz.
Yeah, trying on the heart. I think this is the photo shoot footage, because you reckon they smiled.
Yeah, they were posing for the publicity photos.
Yeah. Probably one of those made, I think one of those made it to the outside cube.
They were so good. And then, Scott, you got to try it out too.
Yeah,
with your buddy.
I don't remember it, and so when I first saw the video, and all this footage is new to me, but when you had sent that small clip of me and Jason's on the other side, and
Yeah, they did it.
yeah, it was, I
There's
don't,
Bobcat getting ready to catch.
He's just frozen.
yeah, food fight scene, you know, how many kids were there on set for that?
I don't know, it had to look crowded wherever you looked.
Yeah, there were a ton, and I found out that they were having a food fight scene, and man, like, I really wanted to be in it, and the crew said, no, we can't have you in it, because obviously if I got hit in the face by an apple or something, you know, that would have ruined it, but they let me do it. So in the food fight scene, I'm like way in the back corner, where they were pretty sure I wasn't gonna get hit by anything. And then I also want to talk about the gentleman that held the camera and, you know, gave it a wink, and I just remember he was such a pro and so cool. So watching him, you know, do wink like he was asked to do.
Yeah,
he was a very good guy.
Yeah. He was the lead bully, and boy did he buff up and play some impressive villains in the coming years. And yeah, he was such a great participant. When I told him, well, we're going to make it look like you picked him up by giving you the camera. And he really got into it. He was trying to figure out, like, how do I choreograph it? And he came up with that wink just before he tosses you in the trash.
There was a really funny clip too that I saw where he was I think he was in his early 20s, and he's talking about, and he said something, oops, there's minors here. Which is pretty funny.
Is that a full house?
Right. So, well, we've got show programming. So you've got your film, all the sets are done. You've got now you've got.
And I should just say, what you showed there were two parts of the shoot, the point of view and then the interior body part. Right. So what I would do when I was directing the interior body reactions, that I would play back the finished selects that were already cut together and locked of the point of view, because I had to time all the reactions to what was happening outside the act. So I always did the schizophrenia of watching that while I was cueing in for different things that were going on. So yes, and then we put all that in the theater and had to have Buzzy now interact and hypothalamus interact with everything.
And do you know what we have in the photo here? You were in there.
Well, then I know, I can't tell exactly what they are.
I thought
And
it was for sure.
it's keystoned a lot here from my point of view, so I can't tell. But Dave Fighton, who I think is here, was one of the people that
Jerry is.
Buzzy. And Doug Griffith. So Doug and Dave doing all the Buzzy performance. And I took Daryl Rooney out with me, who I'd worked with here at Disney in Burbank. And I put him in charge of really shepherding them through the Buzzy act. And I had sat with them and gone through everything I was expecting. So I think you'll see them sort of at work in the costume we'll be putting on.
Yeah, we're going to see Buzzy get his clothes for the first time.
And you'll realize how
wow.
He's naked.
So yeah, they would have to take a lift to get up high enough to work with them. And we did a long shift. We would do work there on the sound mix for part of the time, and then give them elbow room to work on Buzzy's costuming part of the time, and then we had to get people working physically away from Buzzy so that we could animate him. It would be dangerous to be next to. So there's Daryl working with, there's Doug Griffith. That's,
I think we'll hear it here. We're going to see the lift go up to start put Buzzy's clothes on. And there's a line that Scott did that's like, whoa, gotta get some clothes. And one of the Imagineers played that as they're dressing Buzzy, which is pretty fun. So I don't know if they can bring the audio up on this clip a little bit, but we'll hear that.
So that's
it's coming up just about here. So.
Whoa, quick, let's have some clothes.
And he is huge. I mean, you don't realize.
It's huge, and you also forget that the people doing something that seems very ordinary, like putting costuming, have to know how to work forklifts and lift equipment and all kinds of stuff to move equipment around to raise themselves up. And so they have to be safety approved for lots of things besides costuming.
And I love this next shot when she's done. She just fades away.
Very big fan. Although we did have Buzzy during all the activity of moving a big arm around and animating him. One day it put on the brakes too quick and it kind of broke him. And he sprung a leak and oil started pouring out of him and he just totally drew. And poor Buzzy, yeah, he just had no pressure in any of his tubes and we had to have emergency work done on him to bring him back before we could keep acting with him. That was scary. Leaking Buzzy.
And look, I mean, you know, this was modern tech for the time. We've seen a lot of audio animatronics over the years, all the different ways they've been recorded on metal discs and tapes and still here. But look at the size of the computer monitor. I remember it's lug goes around. Yeah.
And they asked me several years into the run, Buzzy started losing the snappiness of his movement, and if he was supposed to look right there, he would look halfway there and stuff like that. So they called me and said, do you have any record of his initial snappy good performance that we could copy? And I looked through, and fortunately I did have a shot that Jay Hyde, who was one of my producers, had put a tripod in the back of the theater and just shot the whole thing through when we were not quite done. We were mostly done with Buzzy. We still had some animation yet to be done. And they actually used that as a guide to sort of refurbish his movements and get him moving snappy again and looking at the right spots.
That's amazing what that type of historical record is.
John Wright's, the remixer. And we had 10 discrete tracks to move the sound around in that theater so you could really feel like you were going places.
You mentioned something earlier that I never even really picked up on before when you were talking about Buzzy moving. That it was supposed to be the momentum of him swinging around.
Yes.
And I never really, until tonight, I never caught that, but it makes total sense now. I always thought it was him trying to figure it out, but it makes...
Once we were keeping the eyes open and you felt like you were going places, then that seemed only the natural way to make it work. If you went counter to it, it would destroy the
You really got into Scott's head.
Anyway, that's been the attraction. You guys have all been in my head, right?
That's right. Well, the attraction, a perfect segue here. So we have a couple slides. So this is the pre-show area, which was very colorful. There's not a lot of pictures out there of this at all. And you can see very colorful, very small screen. You'd be corralled in there for a few minutes where a wonderful animation pre-show that Pete Doctor talked about would be played. And then you were ushered into the main theater. We've seen a couple shots of tonight what it looks like. So imagine yourself, for those that never experienced the attraction, you are inside the head of Scott. Those are his eyes, and the upper screen there and the lower screen represent the different parts of the body that came on and off. And then there's 4 monitors down below that showed things like heartbeat, when he sees Annie for the first time, you see it's going crazy. What else was it? There's a number of different things that were on those.
Diagnostic and measurement things.
That's right. And the hypothalamus would come up from the center. It was much like in Star Tours world, that would come up, his head would come up and talk to you.
And it had the voice of Kurt Wise, which I had to sneak in because there was a rule that nobody on the crew could be involved with the final show. So I snuck it past him and I asked Peter Schneider when the show opened, and he was there with an audience. Like, isn't that a perfect voice for hypothalamus? And he finally figured it out, and he used some expletives. but he agreed that it was perfect.
That worked perfect.
And then I did some of the voices whenever he's warned. Like, warning, tap down the shoulder.
Oh, that's good. And there's Buzzy himself, a nice promo shot there. And then we have another one back here from the theater. But gentlemen, the story does not end there, and that's, so first of all, this is Jerry's story. So he bought us Cranium Command, and Scott, fantastic job as Buzzy. Please give them a round of applause. Buzzy, right? So,
And Bobby.
And Bobby, but I should have done, I'm doing the Steve Jobs style. If we had a videotape.
If
I had a videotape.
I think you do have.
I do have a videotape. And if this had the left and right eye, and if this had the top and the bottom, could we revisit Cranium Command?
That would seem to be all the main screens, wouldn't it?
I think so.
Well, some of them together.
Yeah, and we kind of make sure we get the audio and all that. Could we go back?
Because people recorded audio, right? And you could sync it up.
Yeah. So Who wants to revisit Cranium Command? For those of you that know our Revisited series, this is the world premiere of Lake Winnipeg Historical Society. This is Cranium Command Revisited, and we'll be back on stage to talk a little bit about the show.
sir? Oh no, this has got to be a sick joke! So good that you want to follow the brain, huh? Yes, sir! Hey! Some genius at HQ has picked you how the deal don't save a crack in the fleet. If you mean you get it thinking, and handle this in full. This particular model is 12 years old. Very unpredictable.
Don't worry, sir. I can handle it.
You couldn't find your head with both hands and a flashlight. You're the river to get these knuckleheads. And one of them was right up in my face. I can move your along here, but take a look at the one that I take a look there.
I thought that was the future board stuff. What? I said I thought that was the future board stuff. So he's been recreating all the 3 years old, yeah.
Awesome. I wanted to quickly mention that David Newman did our amazing score, and I appreciated everything about it, and even down to the little charm of the woman outside the principal's office weeping in the little bit.
Yeah. How many of you noticed the things that Jerry did all the way back to his hotel room in there? Did you catch them? I did so much.
Carl Sagan reviewed it in the Human World book that he wrote. I actually had my mom got in touch with me, and she said, "Oh, your show's in Carl Sagan's latest book." I looked it up, and it is. It's in the book. He lists it. He talks about the sorry state of education, but he lists the reasons for hope. And there's a few of them. There's like eight or nine of them. And one of them is our show. He describes going inside the head of a child, looking out through the eyes, finding out how things work on the inside as you're dealing with what's on the outside, and that it gave him reason to be hopeful. And so I made sure that our whole team saw that, and I thought that's the best review we'll ever get from our whole life. It's Carl Sagan putting it in one of his books.
Explain a little bit about what we did to pull this together. I'm not going to go into a lot of technical. You can pull me over. The people who watch our movie nights call me the projector man because I'm always throwing projectors and playing things. But deinterlacing a really poor transfer of the live action footage that you saw. It was not from a laser disc or anything like that. Whoever did it really didn't have the technology or the know-how to get it. But using AI and using all different types of other software, we're able to bring it back. And then we had to piece together animation footage. One thing that the Anonymous Boys didn't have, there's just no animation footage. So that was actually clipped from about 7 or 8 home videos that people took of the attraction. And you notice the general knowledge kind of slid around a little bit. It was the best we could do. On top of that, we AI and upscaled it to get the best quality and matching the soundtrack to the video. And then we masked the eyes. The footage we have is actually full television 4x3 footage, but we masked the eyes. And when I did this, I made the eyes a little bit bigger, so you got to see a little more. The original track, they're much more closed. They're more like our natural eyes. They look more oval to show a little more of what was going on. There's more beyond that too.
And there was a little more room for the physical Buzzy to be out in the middle of it.
And I'll bust the myth. People say that Jerry shot it with 2 cameras, left and right. They're identical.
Yes.
There's no 3D coming up here.
True.
So, and then the stabilization of the pre-show, we had a lot of people work on that. That was it was all over the place, and the person who was filming it was twisting and turning and rotating. I didn't know what to do.
So not on Steadicam?
No Steadicam. No, absolutely not. So we got together with Memory Tree Productions, who had done our opening video last RetroMagic. They did some absolute magic on that to stabilize it and give us the best quality we could go with. And then, putting it all together. Now, how many of you out there join our movie nights every now and then? At some point, when myself and the boys want to talk again, because after this we're going hiatus from each other for a while. But we'll put together a movie night so you can all see it again, and then we'll put it on our YouTube channel. And if you like this revisited, we have 2 more for you tomorrow that we've already released that we're going to play in the game. Last thing too is some special thanks to Bunny Wars. You invited guys. You should put
I want to say special thanks to Court Burton for doing an amazing job. He's done so many voices for me over the years, and he's spectacular.
Yeah, coming back to do that, he had a great time. So Jerry and Scott are going to be over in Centurion after this, just as we wrap up. So if you want to meet and greet and sign autographs, they'll be over there. So for this presentation, that's the crew, and that's a wrap.